Let's get some business news for you now. Kate Moody is here. We're going to start with legal troubles for the Chinese tech giant Huawei.
Yeah, even more now. We've heard the U.S. Justice Department announcing new criminal charges alleging racketeering and a decades-long conspiracy to steal trade secrets from American companies. The new indictment names Huawei and several of its subsidiaries, as well as Chief Financial Officer Meng Wanzhou. She's currently under house arrest in Canada and facing possible extradition to the U.S. Last year, Huawei was accused of stealing trade secrets from carrier T-Mobile. The Trump administration has effectively banned Huawei technology in the U.S. and has encouraged its allies not to allow the firm a role in the upcoming 5th generation or 5G mobile networks. Washington says Huawei's ties with the Chinese government pose a security risk, a charge both the company and Beijing deny. On Thursday, meanwhile, the French finance minister confirmed that Huawei would not be excluded from supplying 5G equipment here, but like the UK, it might impose restrictions to protect consumers. The city of Barcelona is counting the cost of Wednesday's decision to cancel the Mobile World Congress because of concerns about the coronavirus outbreak. The event had been expected to pump nearly 500 million euros into the local economy. Millions more will be lost in cancelling the exhibition space and reimbursing entry tickets. Dozens of major brands, including Sony and Facebook, had said they wouldn't be attending to shield their employees from the potential risk of international travel. Organizers have defended their decision and said they would not compensate companies or participants who were left hanging.
This is a force majeure situation, and we don't comment on the insurance policies, but clearly there is there is no way that you can insure yourself out of a force majeure situation.
European aviation giant Airbus overtook its American rival Boeing last year as the world's #1 plane maker. But the company also faced its own financial challenges, as Alison Sargent explains.
In many ways, 2019 was a great year for Airbus. Its revenues rose by 11% to 70.5 billion euros, and the company delivered a record 863 jets. Still, with all accounts settled, Airbus saw a net loss of 1.36 billion euros. The company's CEO told France 24 it was a year of contrasts.
863 plane deliveries is a record in the industry and a record for us. But at the same time, this was the year we acknowledged the fine that Airbus agreed to pay to French, British and American legal authorities for their investigations.
Authorities were looking into accusations that Airbus used third-party agents to bribe public officials from over a dozen countries to buy its planes and satellites. The 3.6 billion euro settlement was the main hit to the company's bottom line, but Airbus also lost 1.2 billion euros on its military transport plane, the A400M.
We haven't really succeeded in selling it, and we're not allowed to sell it to certain countries like Saudi Arabia.
While Airbus saw setbacks, it still overtook rival Boeing, engulfed in the crisis over its 737 MAX.
Boeing is a very strong company. They will be back, and we have to be paranoid and really humble and concentrate on managing our own destiny and delivering very strong products at very attractive prices going forward.
Executives say they're confident the troubles of 2019 won't repeat themselves in 2020. They do expect to break another record and deliver 880 new planes.
Well, another major challenge for the aviation industry is reducing carbon emissions as environmental activists increase pressure on passengers and providers alike. Our reporter Chris Bachman put that question to Airbus's chief financial officer.
I think first we can contribute a lot to decarbonize air traffic. There is still a lot of fuel-guzzling aircraft out there which should be replaced to come to better efficiency. On top of that, our investments in the development of green technologies is huge. I mean, our R&D spend is way beyond 2 billion. A good chunk of that is trying to abate CO2. And from that perspective, I think we're on the case, and it's clear that Airbus wants to be the leader in that field.
Let's check in on the day's trading action now. Currency markets seem to have welcomed the appointment of Rishi Sunak as the UK's new finance minister. He'll be presenting the first post-Brexit budget on March 11th. As you can see, the pound has risen fairly sharply this afternoon, trading at about $1.30 and €1.20. Investors banking on his supporting an increase in government spending. Right across the board for the major European indices, we saw the FTSE 100 dropping 1% in London as the pound rose. The companies listed there usually make more money when the British currency is weaker. Airbus shares dropped 3% in Paris, and the CAC 40 closed slightly down. Wall Street's turned downwards as well, although the Nasdaq did hit another high earlier on in the session. Tesla shares are up about 5%, as it said it hoped to raise $2 billion with a new stock offering. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development says that governments around the world could net up to $100 billion by rewriting global corporate tax laws. The OECD is facilitating discussions on an international framework to tax tech giants like Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. Some countries, like France, have pushed ahead with unilateral measures, sparking trade disputes with the Trump administration, which believes U.S. companies are being unfairly targeted. France 24's Stephen Carroll has been speaking to economist Gabriel Zuckman about the problem.
There is this big question of what can we do to better tax, these big giants that shift profits to offshore tax havens. But the main problem with the French approach was that it was too specific, that it was only targeted to one sector of the economy, the digital industries, and it ignored the fact that profit shifting to tax havens, tax avoidance by multinational companies is an across-the-board phenomenon. It's true also for the financial industry, the pharmaceutical industry. So then it paved the way for Donald Trump to say, oh, look, France is attacking the US because it turns out that the digital industry is dominated by US companies. And so that was the problem with the French approach.
And you can see more of that interview, including some perspective on the idea of a wealth tax in this week's People and Profit. That's on our France 24 website now.
All right, absolutely should look that up. Kate, thank you very much indeed. Kate Moody with the business. We're taking a short break. Don't go away. Much more still to come.